Hello from Detroit. I'm Eric.
I'm Joel.
And welcome to Thinking Out Loud. Today, if you're up for it, we're going to talk about
Up for anything.
We're going to talk about the growing pains that YouTube as a whole is undergoing, or has undergone, where it's been, where it is now, where it's going to go.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
how we're going to
Fire
sum it
away.
up.
So where's it been? Are you going to give us the history, like the?
I'm going to set it up.
Okay.
I'm going to set it up.
By all means.
In my opinion, my humble opinion, YouTube started really as a platform of creators, kind of by creators, for creators. It was creator centric. They understood it was a platform. It was a platform where people could come together, share ideas, and it wasn't about YouTube fame. It was about a community, and it was wide open. You could publish anything you wanted, whatever was interesting to you.
No, you couldn't.
Really?
No.
Tell me what. Tell me what they put the throttle on in the early days.
In the early days, they made sure that they weren't going to become a porn site.
Well, okay.
You couldn't put whatever you wanted.
Sure, right. You know.
I know. Gotcha.
Man, you're good. As far as.
All right. Point taken though. Other than clearly offensive like violence and pornography, they were pretty lax in their restrictions.
Yes.
Right.
What your opinions were.
Okay.
You could talk about contentious subject matter. You could explore topics that might not be popular to explore.
Okay.
And you could find your audience. Now, as the brand has matured and become more of a destination, the brand as YouTube as a platform has matured and become more of a destination for brands to come and advertise, a lot of ad money is coming in. That's putting a lot of spotlight on there.
In what way?
That
Like what do we mean spotlight?
a spotlight as in now if you are Pepsi and you are running a pre-roll campaign and your pre-roll is going up against some video that is gonna attract fire from some subpopulation.
Perhaps an ISIS recruiting video, for instance?
Sure. That one wouldn't be great. Wouldn't be great. But it doesn't even have to be that extreme. It can be, for instance, right now, the gun controversy or anything having to do with, not anything having to do with guns, but the recent, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I can't give away the...
Okay, okay, all right. So it started as a platform for creators, by creators. Is this before it got bought by Google? Is this what we're talking about? Is this the history here? Or even well into their ownership of Google, were they still a platform for creators by creators?
I think well into that purchase.
Okay.
But then as more and more ad dollars have come in, that there's been more and more, what I meant by spotlight, there's been more and more scrutiny put on brands and what they're being associated with.
Okay.
So
very, very quickly, can I get to one of the biggest changes that I see, and that's kind of being forced upon YouTube as a platform? In that it is it's definitional, but it really, really matters because insofar as YouTube wants to compete with other places for creators to put up videos, it is wholly and completely dominant. And right now, there isn't anyone in the landscape that's going to rival that, with the exception, right, maybe of Facebook Watch, but Facebook's got its own troubles right now. But insofar as YouTube is a media company, where they bear some responsibility for the content and they bear some responsibility for the kinds of videos that their algorithm promotes, that social pressure is forcing it to take some kind of ownership, however mild, of the content that its algorithm promotes. And like that, it is like, so again, definitionally, is it a platform or is it a media company? And if it's a media company, I mean, this is the same thing that Facebook's going through right now, where they say like, look, we are a platform, we are not a media company, therefore we do not bear responsibility. And that argument is not working. and it
No,
didn't
it's
work
not.
after the election.
You're
It's
running
certainly not-
advertising against it. You are filtering and sorting through your algorithm, suggesting certain content. So you have a hand in it.
Okay.
And
So we see this transition. How has that impacted influencers and influencer marketing?
well, why don't you answer that? Because I
All right.
I have a clear vision, but it seems you might not agree with it about what it was, what its original incarnation was, and what changes have occurred and where
All right.
where it stands today. So you tell me you just described what is a definitional change.
Yeah.
Or,
All right. So I think where it's impacting right now, and I think this is a very dangerous place for YouTube to be, is it is creating a dramatic amount of uncertainty for its creators.
yeah.
And-
If they lose their creators, they lose everything.
Well, because they're getting free content that they get to monetize and keep the majority of the advertising on. Like, this is a fantastic, brilliant, model. Someone else is creating the content for them. So, where it's impacting, where there are changes, and where the way that they have rolled out algorithm changes, where the way that they've rolled out brand safety changes. I understand why they've done it, and I don't necessarily disagree with their reasons for it. The way in which they have done it has been tone deaf, and for a quote unquote social media company, it's been extraordinarily tone deaf.
Yeah.
They really ought to have gone about caring for their creators in a much better way. And so if they start losing creators to other platforms, then they're seriously in trouble. So, getting back to the growing pains.
Well, that is the growing.
That is the growing pains.
It's the evolution from a place where it was kind of wide open. Sure, within some confines, you couldn't put up porn.
Sure.
But kind of more Wild West, more, hey, put your ideas out. Your ideas, no matter how weird, are welcome. To more and more popular, more and more ad dollars, more and more scrutiny, and then all of a sudden, there's so much money involved, and they're a company. They need to make money.
Right.
That when there is a scare, when there is a controversy, that someone put up the idea about, recruiting for ISIS, and there was a pre-roll ad against that. That company got skewered. Did YouTube correct by backing their creators, or did they correct by running for cover and adjusting for the brands? And that's the question.
Yeah, no, they absolutely adjusted for the brands. Yeah. All right. Let's get to predictions.
Yeah, because all right, so we've basically summed up what it was, kind of the growing pains that it's going through. Tell me what you think is how this is going to play out.
All right, so I don't. Full disclosure, I don't know what is hope here and what is prediction. But
You're an upbeat kind of guy.
It is a little bit of both.
So, lot of hope.
I trust that there are a lot of really, really smart people working at YouTube, and I had
I trust that.
the pleasure of interacting with some of them, and have been uniformly impressed. Because of that, they get that at the end of the day, they're getting free content that they get to monetize. And so, therefore, I think they know that they have to take care of creators. So I would say in this next year, YouTube really and demonstrably starts taking care of creators in ways that they haven't before. And I'm not just talking about, like the top, 1/10 of 1% superstars. I'm talking about like their, a lot of those who are getting their, making their bread and butter.
Do you think that means like slower changes, more gradual changes, just being more transparent?
I think more transparency. I think slower changes. I do think more gradual changes. I think the messaging about how they're going about that change and why. I think that it might not be quite such a black box as it has been. I mean, I get that they have to be very careful with their algorithm because if the more it's known, the more people can game it, and I get that. But I think I have to believe that they recognize that they have to be a place that's getting really, really good content, and they have to reward those who are creating good content. Because I do think they're recognizing that they're more of a media company. And so therefore they have to promote and reward good, legitimately good content.
Well,
and it can't just be completely ad driven. It can't be short run like the latest the 2016 algorithm change seemed to really just favor watch time, and that was the gold standard. And it was a bad algorithm because it is a bad algorithm change because it punished really worthwhile content that didn't score as high as the on the watch time scale as daily vlogs, which by definition has to be more bottom of the intelligence. You just don't have time to prep like really, really great, thoughtful content if you're daily vlogging. It's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just, it's not compelling art. It's not compelling education. It can't possibly be that. So I think YouTube is very serious about taking care of their creators. 2, I think YouTube's is going to screw content creators that they think they can afford to lose. And this is, I hope they don't. But to your point, I think in the current climate, they're going to say, and dear God, especially with the most recent shooting in San Bruno, I think they're going to come down really hard on gun channels or anything associated with a firearm culture. That's my take. I think they maybe think that they have to do it. I don't know, but I think that they are going to, and there might be a couple of the buckets of kinds of content that they think that it is worth it for them to boot off their platform so that they can demonstrate that
we're safe to play with for the brand.
Yeah, we're safe. Yep.
But if those gun policies, the updates that they provided are a metric for what is to come, that's not backing up what you're saying. Because they are vague. Basically, if you read it to the letter of the law, if you just put a scope on a gun, you are showing a modification.
Well, and I think they've done that intentionally so that they give themselves plenty of wiggle room. And where
so that's not transparent and
no,
clear for the creators.
That is not. But I'm saying they're going to screw a subset for the vast majority of creators. I think more transparency, et cetera, et cetera. But I think for certain kinds of content, this is a prediction. I think certain kinds of creators are going to get screwed. Now I'm putting a big caveat on this, in that YouTube knows that look, they're not going to lose their audience en masse over the course of a year. But I got to believe that they know that they have to be the category killer. And if there was any such platform that could take 10 or 20% of their viewership, their eyeballs, their market share, that would be fantastically dangerous. Look, because I think they have to be worried about Twitch.
Yeah,
I think they really, really have to be
worried
about.
It's the only one that even poses anything close to an existential threat to what they have
right now.
Right
now. I mean, honestly, like, I don't predict this, but it's like if Verizon Go 90 got its act together, no, if they did, they would have to make. But I'm saying you've got the network.
Yeah.
I mean, you have another organization that has a user base already built in.
Didn't they shut that down?
No, it's still going.
Still alive.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, so
anyways,
any other predictions so we can, wrap this up in some semblance of a timely manner?
Yeah. My sense is that they'll get better at discerning content that should and should not be flagged.
Is that going to be AI or is that going to be just man hours because they're going to have people just watching? I mean, I don't think that's physically possible if 100 hours of content or something like 400 hours
every minute,
Yeah.
whatever. No, my guess is that most of it's going to be AI, but they're going to have look, it'll be like the IRS audits. They're going to audit 1% of the population, but the very fact of their auditing is going to, seep into the rest of the population and force a behavior. That would be my guess.
My last tax return is not boding well for the success of that prediction coming true. Well, so all right. On that note, Mr. Taxman, we're going to sign off.
All right.
Bye from Detroit.
Bye from Detroit.